Welcome into Teal, the show. The Jaguars are on a roll at this point. 5 straight games. That makes today another victory Monday. I'm Jamal St. Cyr alongside Frank Frangie. Frank, it was a big win up in Pittsburgh.
There's no question. I thought they dominated the game without playing their A game. Look, they weren't at their best. They haven't been at their best for a while, and it doesn't matter. When you're one of the better teams in the league, you can play a C game, a C-level game, and still beat good teams. I thought they controlled the game. Look, at one point they were down turnovers 3-0. They had turned it over 3 times. The Steelers hadn't it all, and they were still controlling the game. Terrific win. Trevor was really good when he had to be good. That defense stepped up again, even without some key guys. Look, the Jaguars have one of the best teams. We've been saying this on the program. The Jags have one of the best teams in the NFL, and it shows up week after week. 5 wins in a row, 6 wins overall. What a good season this has been.
All right, let's talk about a couple of things that maybe made the difference in the game. We got to start with Travis Etienne. Yeah. He had the big touchdown play. They lined him up out wide, not necessarily where we had seen him scoring touchdowns from, but the play worked, and Travis just seems to have this knack the past few weeks of getting into the end zone.
I got to tell you, Jamal, other than Christian McCaffrey, who's the best back in the league, I'm not sure there's a better back than Travis Etienne. Now, maybe I'm being a homer. I'm a Jacksonville guy. But I'm not sure there's a better back in the league that can do more things, that's more durable, that's more explosive, that can catch passes, that can run between the tackles or bounce it outside. I'm not sure there's a better back in the league than Travis Etienne, other than McCaffrey. He's kind of like the gold standard right now. But Travis Etienne playing at a high level, and they needed that play. That was sort of the knockout punch because you were waiting and you were waiting and you knew it was coming, and then that pass up the sideline kind of, I think, clinched it for the Jags.
All right. The other thing that I feel like really did make a difference in this football game, the bulletin board material. The Steelers, there was a lot of talk throughout the week, and this team took it personally. I was talking to Andre Sisco in the locker room during the week, and he said, you know, the defense is made up of a lot of guys that have been doubted their entire lives, and now you can kind of tell they have that little bit of an edge. So when George Pickens made the comments about them being a hope defense, sometimes they say, just ignore the outside noise. They took that a little bit personally and an opportunity to go prove a point.
There's no question that was a dumb comment about a really good, tough-nosed defense. So George Pickens needs to not make comments like that, or as I said the other time we did this show, he's going to get popped a few times. But I think this team is so focused. I think this is such a focused football team. I don't think it needs artificial motivation. I think they know how to play. I think they're ready to play. I like this group, man. I'm around this group a lot. They like each other. They're tough. The culture's right. I'm telling you, good things are happening. I'll say it again, too. They haven't played their A game yet. They really haven't, and they're 6-2 and playing very well.
All right, we'll talk more about them getting to that A game down the stretch here in the second half of the show. Before then, we got to do your game ball, Frank. Player of the game for the big win in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, boy, I tell you what, there's a lot of guys, aren't there? There's a lot of guys you could give that thing to. But I'm going to give it to Travis Etienne. I thought he was the best player on the field. I thought the big catch. I thought he ran the ball very well. I think he's becoming one of the best players on the football team. He's reliable. Tank Bigsby fumbled again. Dearness Johnson's a veteran that can play some, but you're not sure to put him in, which means Travis Etienne's going to get a lot of touches, over 70 yards rushing, over 70 yards receiving. I think he's one of the best players on the team. I think he's one of the best running backs in the league, and I'm not sure they win that game without him. So Travis Etienne gets my game ball.
All right, how about on the defensive side? If I had to spotlight a guy, maybe Andrew Wingard filling in for an injured Andre Sisco. He played a fantastic game. Players have said that Wingard is one of the leaders in the locker room. He's a captain for a reason. And on the field, he looked like the heart and soul of that defense.
You know what, too? He's gotten faster, hasn't he? He really is. He's become a good player. He's not just a rah-rah guy that everybody recognizes now because he said it was always the Jags. He's more than that now. He's a good football player. Don't ever lose sight of the fact that he's not here and he's not playing as much as he does if he's not a good football player. All the other stuff, the long hair and he's funny and he's charismatic, that's all great, but he's a good football player. Don't lose sight of the fact that we were reminded of that with that interception and the way he played in that game.
All right, the Jaguars do have a lot of good football players on this team. Hey, straight ahead on Teal the Show, we'll start to look ahead to what's next. We'll hear from Coach Doug Peterson on the importance of handling the bye week. That's right around the corner when Teal the Show returns. Welcome back into Teal the Show. The Jaguars have officially started that bye week, so now they get a little bit of time to rest. But the off time, it can also be a dangerous time. You have to win the bye week. Doug Peterson says that it's really important that the team handles this time away the correct way.
It's huge from the standpoint of we don't want any distractions. We don't want anything to set us back right now, right? And so, yes, I want them to get away. I want them to rest. I want them to heal. But at the same time, I want them to think about the next game, right? The next 9 games, you know, and how do we continue kind of what we've started? You know, we got a long season ahead of us still, And I just don't want what we've worked for and what they've worked hard to establish to go by the wayside.
Now, the Jaguars do have a young team, but they're a mature team. I don't think there's a whole lot of concern that they'll lose focus and make those mistakes and not handle the bye week the right way.
100% agree with that. I think that's one of the best things about this team is they like being together, and they know what it takes from a maturation standpoint and from an off-the-field standpoint to stay good. I'm not worried about anything silly happening. This team's not like that. I think the one thing this bye week does more than everything else, you're right, you got to take care of business, but it gets people healthy. I'd like to see Zay Jones come back. I'd like to see Tyson Campbell come back. I'd like to see Andre Sisco come back. I'd like to see Walker Little have a chance to come back. That's a lot of guys now that you've counted on that you didn't have in this football game, and it didn't even, Walker Little could have played, but he didn't. And it didn't matter. I think that's the key to this team. Get health. That's why I think that A game's still coming. At some point, they're going to be a very healthy football team, used to playing together. Remember, they also didn't have Cam Robinson for the first 4 games because of a suspension. So they've had to mix pieces a little bit, and they're still 6-2. 11-2, by the way, in their last 13 regular season games. This is a football team playing very well.
Arrows definitely pointing upward on this group. Still a lot of season left ahead. Let's start to take a peek ahead. You mentioned a few times throughout the show that they're maybe not playing their A game. Defense has definitely been playing their A game. When you say that, it's because the pieces on the offense hasn't come together, but they've moved the ball. Doug Peterson said that an offense that can move the ball but just has some silly turnovers is a little bit easier to fix than maybe an offense that can't find ways to move the ball down the field.
Yeah, because when you're struggling to move the ball, sometimes you do things out of character to try to move the ball, right? And you go outside of kind of who you are as a football team. If you're just making a mistake, whether it be an assignment up front, you can correct that. And you're still moving and scoring points, then you can correct those, right? Turnovers, you can correct that. So, yeah, it's different. And I'd rather be the team that, we're still scoring points, but we could be even better.
I feel like Doug's kind of echoing some of the things that we've been saying here on the show. At some point, the light is going to come on for this group. There's just too much talent for them not to.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. When I say they haven't played their A game, they're playing well. You can't get to 6-2 and win 5 games in a row in 5 different stadiums in this league unless you're playing pretty well. I just think there's more there. I just think there's more there for the offense. I think Trevor's going to start throwing touchdowns. I think that's going to happen. I think they're going to start dominating people. I think they're going to start finishing drives. I think they're going to start taking care of the ball a little bit better. All that's going to happen. They're still going to be a takeaway team. And by the way, if this is a mid-season report of sorts, how about Josh Allen, the guy that everybody doubted, that people thought wasn't going to have a good year, that people said was disappointing? He went to Arizona. He got himself in the best shape of his life. He came back committed to being really good, and man, has he been really good. Talk about one of the leaders of the team. 9 sacks already, and we really haven't reached the halfway point of the season. What are your 41s having?
Josh Allen is playing lights out football right now. Maybe the most important guy on the Jaguars defense right now with the way he's playing. Now, this team, they still have all their goals in front of them. They've gotten to 6-2, but they haven't really reached anything that they expected yet. Doug Peterson said this is the point where he kind of expected the team to be at this point in the season, but he knows there's still a lot of work left to be done.
To be here at 6-2, I expected that. The guys expected that. I think that's the confidence that the guys have, in their ability. We just stick to our process. We stick to, each week is different. Each game is different. And, it's just a credit. It's a credit to the players, on how they work during the week. And, it's that resiliency that you talk about, that no matter what happens during the game, they're going to find a way to win.
Now, while expectations were high for the team going in, they know they still have to play their best football down the stretch to get there.
Yeah, and let me caution you, too, and we've been talking about this on Teal the Show a lot. It's a long year. It starts Labor Day. It ends Valentine's Day if you play in the last game. That's a long season. There's going to be peaks and valleys. There's going to be another valley. They're probably not going 15-2. You're going to have a bad game. Something's going to go wrong. And when it does, when the boat takes on water, how good are you then? The beautiful thing about this team, they started 1-2. People thought, oh, my goodness, they weren't as good as we thought, and we thought they'd be great. And they lost to the Texans by 20 at home. Everything's the matter. This team never flinched. This team said, no problem. We'll get on a plane. We'll get to London. We'll start winning, and that's what they did. They're going to lose another game at some point. Again, there aren't many 15-2 teams in the league, and when they do, how they handle that adversity, and I think they'll handle it very well. Very mature team, very gathered team, very focused team. That starts at the top, by the way. We've been hearing a lot from Doug Peterson tonight. Well, Doug Peterson is the steering influence, man. He's a mature guy, and he's had a big effect on this team. He really has.
All right, when you say something's going to happen down the stretch, it can be anything. I mean, besides just a loss, you can have injuries that start to pile up on you. So far, the Jaguars have been really lucky. Those injuries have been minor guys sidelined, like a Zay Jones, for a few weeks here, but it's not season-ending kind of injuries for them to key players. And those are the types of things that at some point, they pop up.
And I'll say this, too. Give Trent Baalke and his staff and Doug credit for building a team that can withstand the injuries. They didn't have one of their best players, their left tackle, for 4 games because of a suspension, didn't blink. They didn't have Zay Jones, who I think is so important in that offense because he understands the offense so well. He gets people lined up. They haven't blinked. They didn't have Walker Little, who they think is going to be a really good player, didn't blink. When you told me Andre Sisco and Tyson Campbell both weren't playing last week, I was concerned. Now, the Steelers don't have a good passing offense, but I was still concerned a little bit. They didn't blink. They are built to withstand the adversity, and they are built to withstand some attrition, and that's really standing out as well.
All right, we'll start to talk more about the home stretch of the season until the show on Friday. But before then, the trade deadline's right around the corner. There's been a lot of chatter about whether or not the Jaguars would be interested in making a move. Nothing's happened just yet. Frank, do you think maybe something's on the horizon?
I think they're looking. I think everybody that's good, all the 6-win teams are looking. I don't care who you are. If you're a team that now has Super Bowl aspirations, and the Jags are among the teams that do, you've got to be looking. I would be a little bit surprised. I don't think Danielle Hunter is going to be made available. They're 4-4. They've still got possibilities ahead of them. Maybe Chase Young. My guess is there won't be a move of significance. That doesn't mean there won't be a move of some kind. But I'm going to guess, and we're guessing, by the way, because nobody knows. But I'm going to guess there's not a move of significance at the trade deadline.
We'll see how it all shakes out. Trade deadline is set for tomorrow, so not a whole lot of time. I'm sure Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson will be seeing what's out there on the market and if they can find a way to improve the team, kind of take them over the top. Frank, thanks for being here. Thank you at home for tuning in. Good night, everybody, and go Jags.